So, welcome to our next Trends and Insights guest speakers, Dan, VP Business Development at Plusgrade, and Nikos, Business Development Director. Thank you for being gold sponsors for HSMAI, again, very much appreciated. So Dan and Nikos will be discussing the future of hotel profitability, and they'll be unlocking total revenue through personalization and data. Thank you, guys.
We shall take it over.
Absolutely.
Hello, friends. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Dan Hiza, coming to you from Plusgrade, joined by Nikos.
Giokas.
Exactly. So this session, the idea is really to think, I guess, outside the box. We've heard over the past couple of days of thinking inside the box or being that side, changing that, unlearning and relearning and all of that great ideas as far as looking at how we can run total hotel revenue, total hotel profitability. So what we're going to go through today is just a few ideas that we have heard over the years from our different travel segments. So hopefully by the end of it, you'll walk away with a few great takeaways that you can take back to your hotels, back to your hotel companies. As said, so I think you know who we are already, but pleasure to be here. I'm responsible for running business development for Plusgrade in EMEA and Asia. Nikos, responsible for running Plusgrade across the Mediterranean effectively. If you want to scan, go ahead and scan, but everybody's probably already scanned, so I'll carry on. But I guess typically when I start presentations and meetings, I'll ask, who here has heard of Plusgrade? I think from last year, many of you may have already heard of us, but chances are you may not have heard of us, but you've probably used us in the past or present, because we do run the upselling programs of most of the world's airlines, most of the world's cruise ships. We're just coming into passenger rail, we turned Eurostar live in August, and now we're coming into hospitality over the past 2 years, with just coming into this market, with turning Atlantis live over the past couple of months. So what we're going to talk about and focus today is ultimate upselling and how we're going to focus time on total revenue per available guest or total revenue per available room, however you'd like to focus on it. But where we're coming from is that the ancillary revenue side of the travel industry has been going for quite some time. And the first to market was really with the airline industry, and everybody talks about airlines getting it right early on. And to be fair, they got some things right. They also got some things wrong, and they're still trying to make their way through it. But air, for sure, was first to market when it comes to upselling and ancillaries, and we're all used to upgrading our seats, upgrading to higher cabin class, booking a seat next to us, booking maybe speedy pass or speedy boarding. So all of that is what airlines have done quite well. So again, hospitality can learn from that. Cruise ships came into market as in about 6 or 7 years ago with ancillaries, and with cruise, it's I shouldn't say it's a floating hotel. Nikos, you'd probably say it would be. But with cruise ships, most of the world's cruise lines also focus heavily on ancillaries and upselling, because once I've booked a cabin, then I'm all excited about that. However, closer to the cruise, all I'm thinking about is, should I have booked a higher cabin class? And there's something called a secondary wallet, which we'll talk about as you get closer to a hotel stay or to a cruise. Similarly with passenger rail, but now coming into hotels, there's just a ton of opportunity within hospitality to just drive higher total revenue. If you look at these companies and the logos up here, many of them are driven off, of course, the primary sales of their passenger seats, of their cruise cabins, of their hotel rooms, but they also drive a great amount of ancillary revenue. And if we look also at how hotel companies focus on the loyalty membership, like I've heard so many people discussing, okay, is loyalty dead? Is loyalty important? And actually, we're here to say loyalty is really important, and we'll show you some stats and data of why. But that's why companies like Marriott and Hilton and Hyatt are so successful, because they're focused very much so on their loyalty members, where Bonvoy has 200 million members, Honors has 200 million members, Accor has 100 million members, GHA has such great success. And it's primarily because you're giving the loyalty members something to do. But the ancillary revenue that you can drive off loyalty is key. So I think many of you probably know that in here. But what we'll do is we'll look at the post-booking untapped opportunity for TrevPAR. And really, we're going to be driving, it's an education of the guest from the beginning. So when a guest first looks at your hotel, looks at, goes to book on the OTA, books on your own website, books through whatever engine you're using, that's one opportunity to start positioning an upgrade or an upsell or an ancillary product or an experience for the hotel to actually, that they'll do better on. But then what they would have done is that we call that the primary wallet. They then have a secondary wallet that they'll use before arrival. And the secondary wallet is, they've already paid their credit card off a month or 2 or 3 before. Now they have a secondary wallet and they have secondary budget that they can spend. And as opposed to thinking of what they initially spent, booking their holiday or trip, now they're only focused on what they're going to do at the property next week or tomorrow. So that's what we call secondary wallet, and it's similar because there's so much opportunity for you to upsell your rooms and services that you have. If we talk TRM, I'll pass it over to Nikos next. So please.
All right. Thank you, Dan. So when it comes to total revenue management, it's a little bit different approach compared to what we all know as a revenue management. Total revenue management approach involves every kind of products and services that a hotel may offer to its guests before arrival or during a stay. The airlines invented first the term of total revenue management. Cruise, as Dan said before, came second. Hospitality just started to discover the total hotel revenue management. So there are a few barriers when we are trying to implement total revenue management. We'll talk about it later. And let's go see two examples.
So from first to market for total revenue management and ancillaries, it's definitely the airline industry. We know that. And with the messaging, when we talk about Etihad in this case, it's a bid to upgrade, and the messaging is dreaming of turning left, or the ultimate VIP experience, or stretch out on board. So we know we've all been there, done that. We've all flown into Dubai at some point, but the programs are wildly successful, and it's because of all the years of learning that the airlines have had. But overall, with airlines, it's based on our data, 20% of the total revenue is generated through ancillary sales. And with the airline industry, it's over $100 billion in total. So big opportunity, with airlines, which they realize and they see as being so important to their P&L. Similarly, with cruise, as we discussed. So cruise, 7 or 8 years ago, they got heavily involved as well and accelerating ancillaries. And in this case, it's Royal Caribbean, and the messaging communicates exclusivity. So royal up or upgrade your stateroom. But the focus is also on the ease and simplicity of upgrading. But again, based on cruise industry being a wee bit smaller than airlines, they're still driving 30% of their total revenues are based on ancillary and total revenue, which equates to about 12 billion of their total revenues. So again, coming into hotels, we are building momentum into hospitality, and I know many of you will have upselling programs in place, but we'll think outside the box, and we'll talk about some of these ideas too.
So, when it comes to total revenue management, we need to think about beyond room revenue. So it may be any kind of experiences, experiences in our F&B departments, experiences outside our hotels. So it's not only the upgrades. So the main benefits out of total revenue management is that, it is the profit for sure. It's much higher profit per guest, but it's all about enhanced guest satisfaction. This is what our major driver when we're applying total revenue management.
Yeah, exactly right. And I guess the takeaway here really is that offering or implementing a TRM strategy, it is critical. People see it as topping up their P&L. But in more mature markets like with air and cruise, they don't see it as topping up. They see it as a necessary part of their P&L. But really, one other key area, especially here in MIA, is that your guests are going to be used to receiving offers and bidding on upgrades because most of the region's airlines are using this capability to allow their passengers to upgrade and to buy additional ancillaries. So they're used to it. So as we see, as we will see, it does work. It works really well because guests are used to it.
So modern travelers are expecting personalized offers. So in order to do that, to offer them personalized offers, we need to start, when we are applying revenue management, we need to segment, we need to personalize our offers, and we need to communicate our offers. So technology can help us first in communicating offers pre-arrival and personalize all these offers.
Indeed, and takeaway here is really we have to meet or exceed guest expectations, but as we've heard in most of the discussions over the past days, or indeed in all of our meetings, operationally, whatever you offer from a TrevPAR or total revenue management side, it has to be operationally deliverable. You can't just offer everything. So we'll get to the thinking around that next. And really, like if you think of some companies, like you have to be operationally able to deliver. In this case, we have Timothy Walton. I'm quoting him because he at Marriott's focused, of course, on the experiential traveler. They have a hotel in Bologna, which is, I think it's less than 50 rooms. But if you think of what they're doing, they're saying, let's trial something, let's take a risk, let's try something different. And in this case, they're offering a communal kitchen, for cooking classes. They're offering pottery classes. They're offering dance lessons, in the center of the hotel. And it's working, and it's driving additional revenue, but more importantly, it's driving guest satisfaction, which is driving TripAdvisor ratings, which is driving more people there, and they're also learning as they go. So that's the key with just the blended purpose of travel and making sure that you're meeting and exceeding guest needs. So
when it comes to total revenue management, data analytics is a crucial factor. So we need to use all data that usually are stored in PMSs, in CRMs, in social media, in every touch point of the guest journey in order to maximize the effect of personalization. So there are a few challenges there because usually data are stored in different silos, so integration is the biggest pain point in our industry, you know that. However, since more and more hotels are going into the cloud BMS and cloud technology in general, that help us interchange data, break the silos, and facilitate all this data.
And one last point on this is, AI to the rescue. I contemplated, should I put a question mark on that, or because we have been using AI and algorithms and machine learning for a decade. However, now it's just getting much, much more prevalent, and everybody can use ChatGPT or whatever Gen AI systems you want to use. But AI to the rescue, within reason, because you still need data for AI to make sense of what that guest offer is going to be and giving that guest the right offer, the right time, at the right price, which is going to be profitable for your business. So that's key, is just, I think we've all been talking about clean data for the past, I've been in hospitality technology for 32 years. We've been talking about it for 32 years. It's still an issue. AI will help cleanse data, but it still needs to be operationally capable. And with that, we talked about loyalty membership before. In loyalty membership, we see some podcasts and some speakers talk about, is loyalty dead? I don't think so. And based on our statistics and a lot of the data that we have, we know that loyalty members, they absolutely will buy more. They absolutely buy repeat more. But their total spend for room upgrades and for any ancillary sales from food, beverage, spa, et cetera, is much higher than a non-loyalty member. So it matters. So loyalty matters, and that's why, again, as I said, like preferred hotels, GHA and others are doing so well, of course, as well as Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, et cetera. So that's the takeaway on that one? And then going back to personalization and guest experience.
So, personalization, it's not always an easy task. In order to create different guest profiles, we need to search deep in our data sets. But when we get there, it's much easier to create personalized offers or personalized products or meet any of our guests' expectation. But this is what they are asking for, more and more modern travelers today.
Exactly. And for those who attended the masterclass by Anders and the other team member yesterday, where they went deeper into like the total cost of acquisition, the total cost of sales, and focusing on the profitability, like looking at your ancillary revenues and total revenue strategy for the hotel, you have to involve everybody from revenue, operations, finance, et cetera, who will look at, okay, what are the most profitable ancillary services that we can offer? And even though they might sound good, if I'm not making any money, forget about it. So of course, so looking at some of that data and some of the Excel sheets that Anders has would be a smart decision as well. And then as far as just room upgrades, so even though we said, hey, looking at total revenue outside of room upgrades, of course, room upgrades are critically important. And what we see is room upgrades for different class hotels, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. It varies. Like the total, like some of the highest levels of, I guess, upgrades in rooms come to those resorts with many, many room categories, but it's also like from a standpoint of room upgrades versus any other products and services. In some hotels and resorts, it's almost 50-50 as far as what a good ancillary revenue program can deliver, whereas other hotels, it might be an 80% rooms, 20% on ancillaries.
And in periods of very high occupancy rates, where there is no space left for room upgrades, technology can help hoteliers promote and sell any kind of F&B products, offers, services. I still remember a resort in East Mediterranean that was organizing a 5-star Michelin kind of fair show for a week. And they used our technology in order to promote and sell tickets to this kind of show.
Exactly, and we all know the importance of keeping guests on property and keeping them within the outlets and within your eating in your bars and restaurants. And if you can keep them there for one more meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or one more happy hour, then that's going to drive anywhere from $50 to $150 of additional revenue per guest per stay. And we know that guests do prefer to stay in the hotel during certain nights and to leave the hotel during other nights.
Also, again, in periods of very high occupancies, don't forget that in most cases our guests are willing to spend more money. We only need to find a way to get this money. So I remember cases of partners that were trying to find ways to sell spa treatments, massage, any kind of wellness, actually, services. And they did it quite effectively through our technology.
Exactly. In the case, if your hotels do not have spa, then you think outside the box again, and you think about bringing in a yoga instructor or somebody who can do maybe a spinning class or something like that, where you're still charging a wee bit, but you're giving the guest a special experience on property, another offer on property, and you're making a little bit more money as well as you go. So again, think outside the box a bit.
And quite often, why not selling experiences, activities, museum tickets, sailing, trips, any kind of activity in order to increase profit per guest.
Exactly, and in this case, it's collaborations with local companies, local dive instructors, local sailing instructors. not easy to do. Again, you look at, is the juice worth the squeeze, as certain people say? Like, am I going to make, 10% off that or 20% off that? But, in certain cases, if you're selling sunset cruises for $1,000, £1,000 per cruise for up to 10 people, then maybe you'll make 10% off that. So is £100 worth it? Probably, because you're also increasing that guest experience, and they'll love you, and they'll type it in on TripAdvisor. But in this case, we know that over half of all guests will buy offsite experiences. So why not get a little piece of that as you go? Now we'll just switch quickly to the power of bidding. I know many of you probably have looked at and engaged with bidding with many of the airlines coming into region and otherwise. But bidding is something that most people engage with, most people love, and be it high net worth individuals flying on Etihad or others flying on Fly Dubai, bidding drives over 3 times the total engagement versus just like a flat offer. So keep that in mind as you're looking at your upgrade strategies and upgrade platforms, because people who bid, they'll tend to bid again and again. We have a lot of conversations with a lot of 5-star luxury resorts, and they're like, oh no, we won't put bidding into our guest journey. And then we'll have conversations about like Sotheby's, for instance, and you'll talk about high net worth individuals spending £5 million buying Ferraris. Everybody bids, everybody loves it. It has to be done properly and within the brand standard, but it does work, and it drives an amazing incremental amount of revenue for both products and services. So just keep that in mind as we go. And then one case study here. So this is for airline in UAE, I think. Yeah, Mia. But it's in UAE. And in this case, they had their own upselling program. They said, okay, let's do a trial with bidding, and let's see what happens. And so the black is theirs. The blue is the fixed price upgrade, just at a flat fee. And the orange is based on bidding. So the bidding didn't cannibalize. It was cannibalized a bit, but it was almost 2 times the total revenue increase for going from economy to business or business to first. And this was only in the first year or first 6 months of coming live. So just keep that in mind, as you're looking at your upgrade strategies. So putting words into actions, Nikos.
So I think that's the last slide, right?
Well, other than the thank you slide.
Yeah, all right. So upselling, bidding, cross-selling. Yes. Of course, training, staff training is a quite important factor to be upselling and cross-selling successful. That's one thing. And measuring. Without measuring, without tracking, without there is no improvement. There is no efficiency.
Exactly. And as we learned, if you were in the last session with a woman who climbed Everest and climbed K2, and oh my gosh, take a risk and take a calculated risk. Work with the whole hotel, all departments. Don't do anything silly, but can you do something silly? Yeah, probably. But the idea is take a risk, implement something, try it, measure it, change. Again, implement, try it, measure it, change. And it'll be amazing what happens, because you'll see that your teams just get totally involved and engaged with it. So with that, we leave you with a few ideas. Hopefully you can take some of those back to your hotels and businesses and just help you hit your 2025 revenues. Thank you.